Welcome to Being Intrepid, where we share practical insights from leaders who are shaping the future of learning and work. I'm your host, Sam Herring. I'm the co-founder and general manager of Intrepid by VitalSource. I'm recording today's episode from DevLearn here in Las Vegas, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Meg.
Hey.
Nice to have you here.
Nice to have. This is so exciting. I get to meet you. I get to do the podcast. This is fun.
Yeah,
and DevLearn.
Absolutely. So Megan Torrance is the Chief Energy Officer, which is a really cool title, by the way, at TorranceLearning. And so we're going to dive into some of the topics that Megan is presenting on here at DevLearn on Agile learning, AI, and other topics. So Megan, let's go back to your title, Chief Energy Officer. That's a really cool title. You were very thoughtful in coming up with that title, obviously. So tell us what that means and how you bring that energy, how that shows up in your leadership.
Yeah, it's funny because early 2000s or whatever, when making up your own job titles was super cool. We all sat around one day and had different job titles. I think our COO at the time, we called her the glue, and which was completely appropriate. And we were working on job titles, and we had two options for me.
Okay.
To be perfectly honest, one was Chief Bottleneck Officer.
Ooh, okay.
Or Chief Energy Officer.
Okay,
right?
there you go.
And
now
so,
we know why.
That's but if you think about it, right, from a leader's perspective, you bring the energy when you are tired or angry or emotionally distraught. That's contagious. Yeah. And when you are excited and eager and pushing boundaries and having a really good time doing it, that's also contagious. So that's really been it's as much of a reminder to me as anything else.
Yeah. It's so true as a leader. You set the energy when you come into the room, whether you're trying to or not. People are taking that cue off of you. So I love that you've named it, claimed it, and own it. That's great.
It's a good reminder. Yes, every single day.
Awesome. Okay. So you lead TorranceLearning. Tell us a little bit about your services, what client challenges you solve.
Sure thing. So we're a team of 35 to 40 people, and we serve a largely workplace learning audience. Building a lot of, our core of our services is custom learning design and development, all sorts of stuff. Random topics. That's the cool part about the job. On the front end of that, we often are providing strategy consulting. Yeah. On the delivery side, we're looking at custom software, learning platforms, ecosystems, data, analytics, that piece of it. And then wrapped all around that is our passion for professional development and lifting up the industry. So we spend a lot of time on workshops and books and articles, podcasts and things, and basically teaching people how to do what we do to lift us all up, because I think that's it's good for the industry, it's good for the people we serve.
Right. Absolutely. And that is a perfect segue into the sessions that you're focused on here at DevLearn, a couple of which are focused on Agile learning. So tell us, I lead a software business, obviously, super familiar with Agile methodologies for software development, but I love this idea of bringing Agile into learning design. So tell us about your sessions, what skills you're going to be developing, helping your audience develop, and how you're going about it in your sessions.
Sure thing, right? So Agile in a software environment works.
Yes.
Right? There's a reason why pretty much everybody does it.
Yes.
Agile in a learning environment needs a few tweaks. And so we've been helping people with those few tweaks. Right? So same concepts, same underlying grammar and structure to the approach and to the work. But how we apply that in a learning design framework is what this is all about. So we have our LLAMA framework, which is a lot like Agile management approach.
Love that. It's very memorable.
It is. And I think had we realized how popular it would become, we might have named it something a little bit more adulty sounding. I don't know. It's very memorable. And we were doing llamas before llamas.
Plus, you can brand it. You can have like llama, swag.
We have some llama swag. We have stickers and stuff. People love the stickers. And now because llamas are cool. When we came up with llama, like penguins were cool or something. I don't know. It was Holstein cows or something. So like llamas are totally in right now. So it's very memorable. But then we also, so we've got a 2-day workshop, and that's really on the methods, right? So the kickoff, and it's both techniques and mindsets, right? Just like regular Agile. And so we have kickoff processes and management processes and just kind of routines, the ceremonies and rituals of work within an Agile environment, all of that. And then we also did a session called Design for Change, which probably a decade after creating LLAMA, we then realized that we're spending all this time on how do we do the work, but not actually talking about how do we make the work itself resilient to change. It was things we were doing all the time, but we decided to call them out, and it's become really, really popular. So we call it D for C, or Design for Change. And we intentionally think about, how do I take this learning object or this set of learning objects or this learning experience and figure out what is likely to change, and then plan for that. So we don't waste any energy like things are changing, and instead, because things are changing all the time, right? Any energy is energy we're not putting into moving forward. So that's really the crux of what we're doing here from an Agile perspective.
Yeah, and I can imagine the demand for that must be high, because clearly the world is changing faster and faster and faster. And like you said, it's not like a bug, it's a feature, right?
Right. Well, and I tell people, because, I say, hey, why is it work so hard? Like, it changes all the time. If you're not on a project that changes, like from when you start to it might be a project nobody cares about, right? Strategic projects, interesting projects draw attention. They are about critical topics in the organization, and thus they are likely to change. And any energy spent trying to stop that from happening is just unproductive. Right.
This is not going to be productive at all.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Okay, too cool. And then tell us about, are you doing any AI set? You sat on the full day workshop for AI. Okay, so tell us about how you approach AI services. We talked earlier about your 3 zones, and I love the way that you've broken down how to think about AI for the learning professional in some very concrete ways. So tell us how you think about that.
Yeah, there's lots of activity around what to do with AI, right? Figures on keyboard.
Yeah.
Or in my case, I tend to go voice on keyboard. But anyways, so there's lots of work there, and what we're looking at is kind of a level up. Right? How do we as an organization, how do we as professionals, as teams, and as an organization navigate this space? And I think that the learning team and learning professionals have something really unique to offer, in that we connect process to people. And that's our job. And when you connect process to people, or people to process, right, you get performance. And that's what we're all about. And so that conversation and our ability to see through process to people, right? How many times as a learning designer are we the ones to say, this process doesn't work, right? And or this user experience, or this is super clunky. And so there's an opportunity for us to lead and engage. Plus, we're also really good at navigating political dynamics in the organization, because of the fact that we know so many people in the organization through our work, right? We work with all these subject matter experts, all these sponsors. We have incredible networks within the organization. And we facilitate groups of people.
Yes.
So we pull all these together, and all of a sudden we have a place to play in moving the organization forward. And it goes beyond making the things, and it goes beyond that where I call zone 1, which is often our first step, which is personal productivity. Right? Zone 2 then is when I start putting AI tools in front of the learner. In zone 1, I make a thing. I may use a video creation tool, but at the end of the day, it's an MP4. Right? And it's inert. It may be spectacular and wonderful, but it's a thing, right? Zone 2 is where I start putting an AI coach or performance support or pathing or something in front of the learner. Yes. Right? Zone 3 is where something in the process itself changes. And now in learning and development, we need to support that change, whether it's new skills to learn, new people to learn it, different numbers of people, different pre-existing skills. So there's so much for us to do, and that's that space I'm playing.
Right. I just love the way you've broken that down. Very clear, easy to communicate, to your audience. So just kind of let's talk a little bit about, you do a lot of work in the ecosystem of learning and technology. And you wrote an article or did some research on the tools that people use. And so I loved your framing of this is like, there's all the talk of the tools that people are using, and then what are people actually using? So you went out and did the research. What did you find? What surprised you?
So it was fascinating. It was super fun. We found that, not surprisingly,
Yeah.
The vast majority of workplace organizations, that's really where our focus was.
Yeah.
The vast majority of workplace organizations have learning management system, virtual classroom,
Yeah.
e-learning, video
Yeah.
learning, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
No surprise. And where interestingly, I had done some research in 2020,
Okay.
2021 with the Learning Guild
Okay.
around like, what's your technology landscape changing as a result of the pandemic? And
Yes.
all of a sudden we saw people catch up. People
Okay.
who didn't
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
the use case for a virtual
Yeah.
classroom or something, also
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, we got to get Zoom or
Yeah.
Teams or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So now we see that catch up has happened.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Something like 91% of organizations have learning management systems.
Right.
The LMS is not dead.
Right. But not dying.
Not dying, right? So, and there's a lot of buzz around AI.
Yes.
And a lot of people are, right? There's a lot of adoption of AI tools, but at a zone one space.
Yes.
And a
Yes.
first, your first uses of AI, right?
Yes.
Not at a deep space.
Yep.
Broadly,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so basically lots of ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Claude usage, and less usage on more in-depth approaches, right?
Right.
And so that's perfectly normal,
Of
right?
course,
What we're doing
kind
is
of follows
we're
that adoption
catching the
cycle.
curve,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we're seeing that. And so I want to do. Hey, Learning Guild, I want to do this.
They're listening.
Yeah, I know.
They bugged the room.
I hope. I want to do this again in like 3 years.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Same questions, same technologies. Where is it?
Yes.
And so, because here's the thing, right? I got my start in this space in the early days of learning management systems, right? And early days of rapid authoring tools and whatnot. And I've watched, in VR is cool, and AR, and all these things. I've watched podcasting come and then go and then come back, right? Now I have my own podcast. So you watch these cycles and there's all this hype.
Right.
But what are people actually doing? Like VR and AR applications are less than like a third of the population. And it's not that they're bad solutions. It's just not they're not the solution for everything.
Right. They've got their lane.
Yeah. Right. And they're really good at their lane.
Right.
But a few years ago, when I was on, conference planning committees, you'd look at all the submissions and like 85% of them are VR.
Yes.
Well, no, 85% of the world's not VR.
That's not what our audience is looking for. At least not that proportion, right?
Right. So it was super interesting, right?
Yeah.
So we do the AI summit here at DevLearn. Tons of people, packed room, great sessions, really insightful, good stuff. And then I did my Design for Change, which is actually a decidedly not tech-heavy session.
Okay. Yeah.
And I thought, I wonder if everybody's going to show up.
Right.
We had a packed room for that, right?
Yeah.
So it's the old stuff isn't dead.
Right. Exactly. So it sounds like you didn't see too many surprises from that research then. Is that right? Like was it pretty consistent with what you thought you'd find?
It was pretty consistent with what I thought we'd find.
Yeah.
It was but what was Sam, what was really nice is having the data.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it was no longer and
that's my gut.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's not my gut. It's not what benefits me
right.
as a professional or as a vendor to say. Right.
It's the reality.
It's the reality, and it was super helpful. So, and we got we got over 500 people respond to the survey. So we've got good. I mean, yes, it's a convenient sample, and we could, but like we got a good population of people or a sample of people to respond. So. Yeah.
Okay.
It's helpful stuff.
So you mentioned, the preponderance, the demand, it sounds like, or usage right now is around that zone one tools, the learning and development, really the creator kind of tools, right?
Yes.
So we're here at DevLearn. the expo floor. There's a lot of stuff out there, right?
Tons of stuff, lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff, lots of things.
Shiny.
Lots of shiny, exactly.
Shiny.
You know where I'm going here. So what is your advice to your customers, our podcast listeners, to kind of sort through, separate the wheat from the chaff? How do you focus on your needs and get excited about the possibilities here, because they're incredible possibilities, but avoid the shiny object syndrome?
Yeah, I think there's a few pre-existing questions or things that mindsets to approach us with, right? So what are our business goals and what are our business challenges?
Absolutely.
And when I ask those questions, yes, within the learning team, but within the business, right? What's the business trying to do? And so you haven't talked to the business about what their needs and challenges are. You may be sub-optimizing, and that's one of the things I worry about within L&D, is that we sub-optimize for our own productivity, but our whole purpose is in service of others. So, let's optimize for them. Right? So that's question one. And your filter then is, if this new shiny, or this squirrel, as I like to call it, right, doesn't solve a current problem I have better than my current solution, then I may not want to waste my time and my money and my change capacity. Right. So here's the other thing. It's like, what do you want to stake your reputation on? And so every time, particularly because L&D folks tend to have less hierarchical and profit power within an organization, right? Every time we use our power, that is a risk move, right? We take risk. And so how do we make that successful for us is by de-risking. Right? So think about, do you want to put your career on this? And that, I'm not trying to slow down innovation. I'm trying to make sure that Danielle Wallace actually said the other day, right? It's not a random act of AI. Right? And I know she's not she didn't coin that term, but it was like, it's a good point, Danielle, right? So how do I, and whether it's AI or not, how do I make sure that this is the right solution? I then want people to be thinking about get into some of the nerdy dynamics of things, and the wonkiness, the business model underneath. Right. So one of the things we all should be aware of, that there's nobody here at DevLearn. There's probably a few, but we're all building tools and layers on top of somebody else's core technology. Somebody else's core technology we don't control. They actually don't care about L&D very much, right? Because we're not a big portion of their market. And we're not the power players. So we're not only small, we're low power. We tend to be low budget relative to other functions in the organization, right? So we're not their the core. We're not the target audience for the core models underneath, nor the core models underneath making money right now. So they're going to be, and it's a perfectly fine place for them to be, right? You get business, I get business. But long term, that's not a perfectly fine place to be. So they will be making changes. Which change all the tools that sit on top of them. So the things, the technologies, the tools, the capabilities, the pricing models, the deal structures, and so we're no longer pricing per seat or per time, but for use. And what does that mean? And all these things, our models are changing. So I'm often talking to people, but thinking about, just make a plan knowing that, right? You're not entering a 7-year contract with the end all be all one big box thing, but as you're making small point arrangements, what's the end user experience, right? Is it all just kind of jumbled up? And you were talking about, the one window into a tool, right? And so what is the balance for your organization? There's no one right answer, right? What is the balance for your organization in that continuum of one big box that does everything, but maybe not all of it really great, and managing multiple really amazing short-term point solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. It is it's an exciting time, because there's so much happening. It's happening so quickly. There's opportunities to pilot and test, and we're just seeing just incredible interest, in trying new things out. But I think what you're saying is really important, having that ability to truly pilot and try some things. I was recently reading a venture capitalist who's at Salesforce.com for a long time, and he's flipped the phrase of software as service to service as software, like putting the emphasis on service, and it's really changing the stakes away from these 7-year contracts, with huge minimums and stuff to, hey, we got to prove the value here,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's really really great advice.
What's interesting though, right? What if, as we're looking at pilots, which means some things won't work,
Yep.
right? And we have to it's not a good pilot if we don't allow it to fail, if it should,
Absolutely.
right? And so that mindset, because we're always like, we need to prove our worth, right? Which means nothing can go wrong.
Right.
And if we were to move outside of that scarcity mindset,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we're piloting and measuring, and we have success measures or failure measures, but also we're to use that as an opportunity to help the business build change resilience and change capacity. And so talk to people about, hey, let's pilot this. Let's use this as an opportunity for all of us to grow. We're trying out this technology. Yeah, great.
Right.
But also, what does that mean for us? Right? I did this great thing. Well, I didn't do this great. I watched this great thing happen. I'll be really, really clear. I did not have anything to do with this great idea. So we were building software for the Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum in Michigan.
Okay.
Right? Super cool project. I mean, it was like Bluetooth and iPads and XAPI and data dashboards. I mean, it had all the bells and whistles.
Nice. All the things, yeah.
All the things, right? And children's science museums. Loved it,
Yeah.
right? But at one point, we needed to test, and it's an undocumented museum, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of like, and it's a hands-on, like there's lots of hands on everything.
Yeah.
So, and we had some buggy stuff we couldn't
Yeah.
make work, right? The way we wanted it to make work robustly, continuously. And so the museum took the iPad, put it out on the floor,
Yeah.
bolted it down, mostly, put a sign next to it and said, be a scientist. Experiment. We're testing this out.
Nice.
See what you think.
Nice.
How do you think it should work? Does it work that way?
What a great customer attitude.
Right? Like, seriously, talk about,
Yeah.
I mean, just the framing of that. What if we did that at work?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not all organizations are like that, and sometimes I have deep empathy for a learning leader right now in this moment, because they're being asked to innovate, bring new solutions, business solutions to their clients. But at the same time, it's like, make sure that, we don't run afoul of privacy and security and, all these things that can go wrong, with AI, right? So, and hallucinations, of course, and so on, accuracy. So it's tough. It's a tough environment. But we're finding organizations that, can find the use cases that they can go safely test, in this environment. So one thing I'm just really curious about, given the zone 1, zone 2, and this floor of tools out there that we have access to, what are some of the things that you think are kind of overrated right now from a Gen AI capability perspective?
Oh, that's a good question. Really putting me on the spot.
Yeah, I know. I didn't give you this one in advance.
Yeah, I now I know why. No, I think what do I feel is overrated? I don't. I've had a recent client experience in which we lobbied hard for AI voiceover.
Okay.
Really getting myself in trouble
here. Okay.
And you know what? It solved some problems.
Okay.
Beautifully.
Yeah.
Right. Variety of voices.
Okay.
Almost instantaneous results.
Yeah.
Super cheap. Like, what's not to love?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what we're hearing from our clients is, it doesn't feel real. Yeah, it doesn't feel like you care in this very human facing kind of they can still tell.
Right.
So I know that the art is advancing.
Yeah.
In fact, even in the course of for this is a jumbo project for us. So it's a multi-month project, which I love how we're now talking about the speed of change in an AI world in months.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a even our early stuff is not as good as our later stuff. So later stuff is better, but it's still not quite. So there's an art to getting the best out of any one of your tools and stuff. But I'm not sure that we won't at some point say, no, let's bring back people.
Yeah.
Right? Let's bring back people that show we really, really care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So when we're all in the business of learning,
Mhm.
including ourselves, right?
Yep.
So in 2026, do you have a learning goal? Something you really want to focus on learning?
Oh, I'm kind of looking at moving deeper. So I am super susceptible to new shiny, right? I
Okay.
mean, if you look at write a book on Agile, write a book on data, write a book on AI, right? That comes out in June, and so it's like, woo, shiny. And what I'm looking at is looking deeper, right?
Okay.
How can I deepen some of my Agile practices? So I'm really fascinated with the concept of ceremony in
Okay.
Agile, right?
Interesting.
And not like put on big robes and stuff like that, but it was
Right.
just like
Right.
the very human quality of
Right.
ceremony.
Right.
I am actually totally nerding out lately on data analytics and experiment design, and how do we get really good experiments um, to gather data that will help us make good decisions.
Okay.
It's a rigor that like project management, our industry doesn't have a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
this,
Right.
right? So that's interesting. Of course, spending lots more time with AI, and over all of that is also just growing my skills as a leader,
Nice.
and connecting in, reconnecting in with my kind of SMB kind of CEO
Yep.
space,
Yep.
and spending time there.
Nice. Nice. Fantastic. And is there a book that you've been reading or something you would recommend to our audience?
Oh gosh, like right now I'm in a political science rabbit hole,
Cool. Okay.
and
Okay.
so that's helpful. Actually, both on the data side, surprisingly,
Right.
and just human empathy, and why do
Yeah.
people do what they do.
Right. Right.
Super super interesting.
Right.
From a learning perspective, I picked up. Gosh, Jess Omley's book, Order Taker No More. I just got Josh
Okay.
Cavalier's book,
Okay.
Applying
Yep.
AI.
Yep.
I want to get Kareem Pagano's book on skills.
Yeah.
My bookshelf ever groweth, right?
Yes.
Scott Page's diversity book, title I can't remember right now. Like, there's
Yeah.
a pile of things
Yes.
on my shelf, so I kind of need a vacation so I can just go
So
read.
the holidays are not going to come too soon.
No, I'm ready.
That's great. That's great. Well, Megan, if our listeners would like to get a hold of you and learn more about your services, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Sure thing. So,
Okay.
torrancelearning.com.
Okay.
And it's a great place to start. And I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So that's
Awesome.
probably the other really great place to start. I don't do a whole lot of other social media. Managed to lock myself out of Facebook. So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Understood.
It hasn't been the worst thing for me.
Yes. Well, it's just a bunch of ads now. So, Megan, thanks so much for joining me today. This is wonderful.
This was super fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Um, Thank you so much for our listeners joining today as well. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can find future episodes of Being Intrepid on our website and anywhere podcasts are found. We hope you enjoyed the episode. And remember, just stay curious, keep on learning, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.